Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back, folks, to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss all matters HR. And today, the 6th of February, we are so happy that you could join with us. My name is Anthony Kuria. I'm your host. And together with me is my co host, Zipporah Kuria, the HR consultant. Now, today we want to discuss big stuff. The month of February has begun. Last month we were discussing about starting the year right. And part of starting the year right is taking care of your employees as an employer. And this month we want to discuss matters related to employee wellness. And today, to help us discuss this matter, is our HR expert, Philisters Obunga. Welcome. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yes. So, Felicitas, kindly introduce yourself to us and to our audience.
Thank you, Anthony and VP, for this wonderful, beautiful morning. I'm really excited to be on this platform.
Thank you.
I'm an HR practitioner, 15 years of experience in an international NGO until 2018 when I transitioned into now this HR consultancy that I'm doing. I'm really passionate about HR and more so even the topic that we are going to discuss today. So I just want to welcome the audience we have today that I hope this is going to be a learning experience for all of us. Being an expert doesn't mean that you know it all. So Anthony and Pippi, I hope and I pray that we'll have an engaging conversation this morning. Thank you very much, and I'm honored to be here today.
Thank you, Felicitas. Thank you, Felicitas. It's good to have you. You know, as you said, nobody knows it all. And sometimes you've got to, even as you discuss, you bless others with what you know. It's important to also hear different perspectives. And as I've said today, we want to discuss about employee wellness. And for today, the theme of this month is employee wellness. But for today, we want to discuss about employee mental wellness. Now, this is this is a big topic. Even at the best of times, there are still issues to do with wellness, mental issues. Even when we do not have the things that we've gone through over the last 12 months, 14, 15 months since the world was affected by stuff. So, I don't know. Let me start with you, Felicitas. Give us an overview of employee wellness in an organization.
Thank you, Anthony. When we talk, when you hear the word well, what comes to your mind as a human being? It means something that is whole. So when we hear the word organization, employee wellness, it just means, the programs that are designed within the organizations to support and even to cushion staff in terms of their health, physical, we talk of physical, we talk of mental and spiritual. So basically you are looking at an individual in totality, the wellness of this employee. You want to look how they're doing in terms of their health, their physical, and all the mental. So basically, what the organizations have done, or from their experience, they have learned that when you have such a program in place, there are benefits that comes with it. So they design programs to improve the health of their employees and also the organization. So you'll find that organizations will come up with programs. For instance, you'll have, and also this varies actually with the nature of your business or where you in line of operation. So you can have, programs such as yoga. You can have inbuilt physical facilities. Where people can go lunchtime and just steam off. Because by the end of the day, when you talk of mental wellness, if you take care of the health of this employee, you are going to see the positive side of it, the health benefit of it. And we all know the benefits of exercising. When you have that kind of a program, you will boost your morale, you boost their energy. And I'm sure as we interact in our daily to daily life, the people that go to the gym, I don't think you've met anyone who is grouchy, So employers know the benefit of having these programs in place. For instance, where I was before then, we had member education, a program designed for members, and you can do it quarterly or twice a year. What does that mean? You know that I have Philisters and I have Zippy, and I need them productive. I need them to be in physical fitness. I need them to be mentally sound, and spiritually sound. So what we do is we have our medical providers. You invite them. You station in your office, wherever you are, you can have your tent, okay? You'll have your tents, and you'll have an eye checkup, you'll have GP checkup, you'll have, all kinds of checkups. And let me tell you, Anthony, from this experience, you'll be able to find that there are some employees actually that had issues, and they were not aware about it. And what does that tell them? They know at the back of their mind that you care about their health. At the back of their mind, remember, mental health wellness is about the feelings and the thoughts. So what kind of feeling are you creating? You are telling employees that, they really matter, you value them, you appreciate them. So in a nutshell, let me just say that there are those programs that are designed, to help employees improve in their health and even the productivity of an organization. So it's an added package to push the employees aside the salaries and the likes, but the employers know that this once we have this program, we are sure that we are having an engaged workforce. We are having, people who have the interest of the organization at heart. So basically, that's why we develop this kind of programs for the benefit of the employee and also the organization as well. But there's no one size that fits all.
Sure.
I will design mine, you'll design yours. So it depends on your needs. So I'll just give that as an overview, of what it entails to have an employee wellness program in.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you, Felicitas. That is pretty comprehensive in terms of issues to do with showing beyond the monetary, monetary rewards that you give. An employer could give the employees, that designing something that for them to be able to participate in, to take care of their own health, is also a non-monetary incentive that you could bring in. Zippy, what's your view about employee wellness in an organization?
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Philisters. I think Philisters has put it very well. And let me start by saying we are living in very challenging times. Challenging times that have become extremely very stressful. And at the end of the day, they impact on the employee productivity in the organization. And I think from what you just said, if I could pick from that, it's not just about the monetary rewards that we're giving our employees. It's more than that. Because if I come to work and yes, the basic I'm getting is a wage or is the salary I'm receiving at the end of the day, that does not necessarily mean as a human being, I am well, I am okay, everything is working out okay. And I could be doing this because I need to feed my family. But as a human being, am I okay? One of the things I always keep on saying, we spend a lot of time in the office. If you look at our time, our life, especially those who work full time, you spend a lot of your hours or a bigger percentage of your time in the office. So if you are not well as a human being, it impacts you in totality. It impacts the other people you're relating with. It impacts your co-colleagues. It impacts your family. So I think we need to start thinking about as employers, how do we go an extra mile in ensuring that our employees are whole as human beings so that we can be able to actually get better results from them, and not just getting that productivity, but even for them being better citizens, being better human beings for themselves. Okay, so I think we need to look at it. We need to move from the place of an employee, I need you, you need me as an employer. We're giving each other service, so pay me for it. It's about going beyond that. It's about checking out on them. How are you doing? How is your family? Sometimes employees come to work and they're carrying a lot of burdens. They are carrying a lot of stressful situations. And a lot of times we get caught up in what we are doing on a daily basis, and we forget to even check out and see, how is your child doing? How is your family doing? Or even you knew they had a situation before, and we don't even follow up to see, did you manage to resolve this situation? And I'm not so sure whether you guys are like me. But for me, I feel it's something that I feel in my heart when someone goes that extra mile to find out, how are you, Zippy? How are you really doing? For me, it shows there's a sense of care, there's a sense of belonging in this place, and it makes me want to do a little bit more. So I think we need to go beyond just saying we are paying a salary to, looking at what else can we do to help our employees, be more well as human beings, because there's a lot of stress that comes with work. Okay, if the employee is not whole, then they will not be able to manage their stress well. If the employee is not whole, they will not be able to be productive. So let's look at it from a broader perspective. Let's start thinking about what programs do we need to bring on board that will help our employees, be better, be well in totality, not just physically, but emotionally, their cognitive, abilities, to make sure they are all well. That is what I would say.
Wow, wow. Thanks, Zippy. You've discussed beyond exercise. You've brought a different perspective to what Felicitas was putting. Felicitas was bringing in the aspect of, okay, beyond money, you are bringing in the issue of, creating programs like exercise, like creating runs and stuff like that. Then you've brought also the issue of mental, just the connection, showing empathy and understanding. Now, ladies, if I could go to the next issue. As you all know, and our audience knows that last year, 2020, was an extremely challenging year for employers and employees. Felicitas, give us briefly, what are your views?
Let me just add one point to what CP has just said about engaging with the employees. Just one point on how, when you ask an employee, how are you doing? How deep do you go into that conversation? Because you find more often I'm fine, I'm okay. Yes. But when we go deeper, you'll find out more that you'll be able to engage and help this employee deal with issues, maybe home challenges, financial issues. So it's not just about, hello, how are you doing? But finding more, how is your family? How are your children? All that will help us to have a very well and healthy work environment. So for the year 2020, that was I would call it a deep year, a very deep year, challenging to employers as well as employees. And for employers, I think one of the areas, this caught everybody off guard, disruption from nowhere. And as the minister kept on saying that, an enemy within, but you don't know where it's coming from. Yes. So you find that employers were caught in a situation whether to continue in operation. So others closed their businesses. We saw people closing their businesses.
Yes, that's
others, we went to remote working. We had to embrace new way of, it's one area that employers, most I think in this country, had resisted for a while, but this time we had to embrace it. And it came with its challenges. Isn't it, Anthony? It came with challenges in the sense that
with serious challenges.
Serious challenges. How are we managing these remote workers? Where are they working from? You look at the resources. You look at the environment, the safety and health, even where they are working, and those are the challenges that the employer had to shoulder.
Correct.
how safe are they in this kind of COVID? How do we ensure that our employees are safe as they move from where they are, those who are working, we get PPs, for them, all that. So those are the challenges that came with last year. And just being able to operate in the VUCA world. So I think it was a very trying moment for employers, and I'm happy that things are getting back. At least there's some, bit to, we are moving back into operation in a small way, but it was a tough year for the workers, even employees who lost their jobs. It was tough time, lost their jobs. There was salary cuts, Anthony. If you didn't get one, then you're lucky.
Yeah, that's true.
And all that. So for me, I would say it was a tough year for both the employer and the employee. But one thing I learned that in our difficulties, we learn to manage ourselves better. We learn to being just flexible and adapt to the situations, as difficult as it was for employees, because losing a job means you're losing an income.
Yes, that's true.
Or your lifestyle has to change. So I think those are the challenges that we went through last year. And one thing also that I thought maybe I was sharing also, the hour of work. People have to put extra hours, employees. Now the sleeping patterns change. You go into different time zones, working late, waking up early, all that. So those are the challenges that came up last year. But I think one of them that is, that I think employees were hit was the area of job loss and the salary cuts. So that's my view on the challenges that actually was experienced last year by employers and employees. I don't know maybe what Zippy will say about it.
All right. Zippy, what's your take?
Wow, I think Felisa has put it very well. I love how she has put it. And definitely 2020 was an extremely challenging year for both employers and employees alike. Were we prepared for this? I think absolutely not. Are we ready for another challenge like this? I think that's a question every employer needs to answer, because we've gone through this, and if the event this happens in the future, then how are we going to be prepared as employers? How are we going to prepare our employees in the eventuality something like this happens again? This needs to be a learning curve. I think a lot of employees lost their jobs, and those who did not lose their jobs, most of them definitely got salary cuts. And of course, this meant a lot of things, readjusting budgets. Some people had to relocate to up country. Some people had to start looking for new ways of, surviving. I think it was really, really extremely challenging for the employers. I think it was also very stressful because you've never been in a situation where you all of a sudden you're having to have conversation with employees. Imagine we are going to give you salary cuts. I mean, it was really unexpected, and even employers did not know, how do we handle this? How will employees actually react to these suggestions that we are making? Are these suggestions even legal in the first place? Those are questions that were going through even employers' minds. So I would say it was an extremely, extremely challenging year. But the question would be, have we learned from those challenges, and what are we going to do in the future so that in the event we are in a situation where people have to lose jobs, are we preparing our employees to be ready for that? In the event, this pandemic was to rehappen again, and we pray it doesn't happen again, are we going to be ready that, or in a place we can say we can sustain our employees with their salaries for the next 3 or 6 months? So I think those are questions as human beings we need to start asking ourselves and get ready for any future challenges.
It is. You have really gone into the meat and bones of the issue of 2020, which which is the truth. I mean, nobody was not affected. You look at the employers on their end, the stress of, I saw both here in Kenya and across the world, companies declaring bankruptcy. For employers, for founders and entrepreneurs, that is extremely difficult. I mean, your life's work going up to smoke because of factors beyond your control. I mean, it was tough and it was challenging, and we thank God that we're getting out of it. I'm looking at the comments. Felicitas, I can see you have fans. Can see Martha Thuku and Catherine Wekesa saying, good work, welcome. Sahara Muhammad is saying something very powerful, that when it comes to issues to doing with employee wellness, I guess what she's saying is that some of the benefits include just simple concerns that mean a lot for an individual, and that this ought to be company culture. I can see Martha, has also contributed saying 2020 has taught us mental health and emotional wellness is mostly missing in corporate wellness programs. Unfortunately so. I mean, most companies, let me tell you, ladies, most entrepreneurs are hard-minded, focused, realistic people. The issue is I've set up a company to make money to pay you. The first thing I'm doing is paying you. So be thankful that I'm paying you. Now, then I go somewhere, I think, okay, probably I'll give you a medical cover or, meet the statutory WIBA and all that. Now, the stories of building for you a gym, those are benefits that come when I've made my several millions and kept them in the bank before I start thinking my employees need to start jumping here every morning or in the evening pumping iron, So as we go, and we thank our viewers and our listeners for sending those comments. Keep them coming. Let's have a discussion. Now, my other issue, going back to the issue of job losses. Let's talk about job losses. How many employees lost their jobs and livelihoods? Zippy, probably you can throw something here.
Yeah.
What's your view about the issue of job losses? How many were lost and livelihoods disrupted?
Anthony, I wouldn't say I have the fingers on my fingertips. I wouldn't have the numbers.
Sure.
But what I would tell you for sure from interactions with different employers, there's a lot of employees who lost their livelihood. It was a really, really tough year. There's a lot of employees who took pay cuts up to 20%. I mean, assume you're earning 100,000 and your salary cut is done 80%, you are remaining 20%. You are almost like not working because you have to completely figure out how do you get more resources to put into that hole that has been dug. So I think the job losses really were massive. And I think we need to start looking at then how do we recover from these job losses? How do we help our fellow citizens, our fellow Kenyans, recover from this, whether it's from getting new jobs or even getting into new businesses. How do we as a country start having meaningful conversations as to how we recover from this? Because I think a lot of times people lose jobs and we'll be sad for a moment, we'll sympathize with them for a moment, and we forget and move on. Okay? So I think we also need to start thinking as a nation, then how do we start recovering? How do we start moving from 2020 going forward and helping people, restart their lives afresh? People went to up country. I've had a lot of sad stories. People took their children up country. People took their children, those who were in private schools. And there's nothing wrong with public schools, but people took their children to public schools, and schools are right now really, really overwhelmed. When I look at all the challenges that came with job losses, this stress has actually even gone, to our children, So how do we start really recovering? How do we start having these meaningful conversations as a nation and as stakeholders so that we can start helping our fellow human beings? I think that's what I would say about the job loss.
Philisters, what is your view?
I think, Anthony, for me, job loss is not just a walk in the park. It's a painful experience. Nobody, you don't want to go through it.
Yes.
Because one minute you have your job, the next minute the job is gone. So what does that do to you? You have no income. It means you are, as CP says, maybe relocate to the village. And quite a number of families actually went back to the village, because they're not able to cope with the city life. So you find that, when you lose a job, there's a lot that goes into your mind, the pain. Why me? You ask those questions. Why me? Why not Zippy? And all that. And if we are not careful, then, we can easily slip into depression, because you had a good job, you can take care of your children, you go to good school, maybe you stay in a nice place, and just be able to meet your monthly expenditure. But for one reason or another, for you just find yourself, you're not able to do that anymore. So the pain that comes with it, Anthony, I think is deep, and is one area I think, ZP says, we need to have, conversations going forward. How do we help these employees, those who lost their jobs, get them into counseling? Because as I've said earlier, you remember the mental healthness, your state of mind, these are your thoughts and feelings. So when you lose your job, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? What are people going, we feel so much, like, what are people going to say about me? And so there's a battle, the war mind, there's a warfare in your mind, not knowing. So I think nobody wants to lose their job. It's sad that we have, as of last year, we had, I think, about 1.5 million in Kenya, those who lost their jobs. I don't know the statistics right now, but I think that going forward, we need to find a way of, maybe we'll talk on how to manage employees as they exit. How do we ensure that, we make sure that they have a healthy mind status, or just how to go back to the society and, engage in some meaningful work for themselves. So I think for me, job loss is a painful experience. And I know quite a number of my friends who lost their jobs as well. It's not easy, but to, we'll see how to go about that. Maybe just have a conversation around it.
All right. Ladies, that is true. The issue of job losses, in fact, I was about to ask the next question about in the same line, but you realize that, as I said earlier, employers are also getting stressed. Employees, as you said, excuse me, get stressed. And this even goes to the children. You've seen now the kids who have gone back to school. You've seen the number of children who are threatening their teachers. Yeah, they're threatening, especially in high school. Some of them are threatening, they're beating up their teachers. Some are fighting amongst themselves. One or two have, attempted to commit suicide. There is a lot of unrest in schools. And why is that? It's simply because the stress that has been at home during the COVID season, you'll find at home things were very stressful for those children, with parents, either or both not having a jobs, drastic lifestyle changes that have brought all this. So if probably I'll go to, I can see our time is really going. I'll jump to what I was considering the last question or our last discussion, that what can HR, human resource managers, do to prepare employees to deal with job losses? Felicitas, if I could pick your mind on the same.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yes.
Just a quick one.
Yes.
Just a quick one, as I know our time, we're running out of time.
Sure.
When you lose a job, just a quick one, when you lose a job, acknowledge that you've lost your job.
True.
Because we know of people, we've heard of stories of where people are going back to their workplace when they left a long time ago, or not telling their members or their families. So number one, just ensure that you acknowledge that you have lost your job. So how can HR help employees during this time?
Yes.
Anthony, I think we've heard of such stories. I must say, very such stories in the recent past days, where employees, you are called in the evening, you are given a letter, this is your last day. Others are just coming from surgery, and they're told, this is it. So I think we need to be a little bit human as HR professionals when we're dealing with job losses and employees. Remember, they are human beings and they have feelings. So I think it's important for me that as practitioners, let's have that human side of us. I remember one time in my former place, I had to negotiate for an employee who was told to leave. How do you do that? We say we sit on the table. How do you make your power being felt? So negotiate. Tell your manager or your CEO that, ZP has been with us for 20 years. We cannot just give them 1 month notice or something. We can negotiate. So I think as HR professionals, we have a lot to do in when we are going through the job losses. Our role is to ensure that, we have that human touch, prepare them mentally that this is going to happen. Don't just ambush them in the morning or in the evening. So I think because of time, I'll just rush. I'll say that let's be human when we are dealing with job losses. They are human beings. They have families and they have feelings. Thank you.
Wow. Zippy, from your perspective, how do HRs, many of whom are listening to us today, how do they handle this?
Let me first start by saying, Anthony, that having to give someone a termination letter, I think is one of the most difficult things an HR can do. If most HRs are like me, I would go home knowing that someone's life has been affected, and not in a small way, in a major way. And you have no idea how this person is going to pick up the pieces and move forward. So I think one of the things we need to really be careful about, even as we are letting people go, is to put a human face, like Felicitas has put it, is to be very careful how we handle this employee who is exiting. Have a conversation with them, make sure even as you're giving them this termination letter, you're giving them a ear to listen to them. Because sometimes they will receive this news with shock. Are you prepared to, to handle them at that point in time? Are you prepared to help them deal with this sad news that they are receiving? So we need to first handle it with a lot of care, give them a ear to, to just listen to their concerns, allow them to vent, because sometimes they just want to vent, allow them to vent. But even for the employee, I think like Felicitas has said, it's very stressful. Yes. And one of the things is you need to accept and acknowledge, okay, this is happening, and get to that place of realizing, okay, this is where we are at. Then how do we move forward, How do I evaluate what has just happened? How do I even, process my thoughts of why is this even happening? And bring myself to that place of accepting seems to be my new normal, or this seems to be my new now. How then do I move from here? How do I wake up tomorrow and pick up the pieces? I always say it's not about falling. It's about whether you rise up after you fall. Because a lot of us will fall because the journey has a lot of bumps. It has a lot of mountains. But are we going to pick up the pieces and move on? So from an HR perspective, for those HR who are listening to us today, I think it's important for us to put that humane face. Like Felicitas has said, let's have conversations with the management. If we are sending people home, how are we going to send them? Assuming it's a redundancy, it will need meticulous planning. How are we going to plan so that even the people who are affected, understand we have their hearts, we are feeling their pain, that we are helping them in this transition. Let's try as much as we can where we are able to help them transition in a good way. Sometimes it's difficult. I will not say it's not difficult where, maybe it's a disciplinary issue and, you are having to let this employee go. And in as much as it's a disciplinary issue, they have done something that is completely wrong, doesn't mean that this person is completely lost and they cannot be redeemed. I think as an HR, you have a powerful authority. You're in a place of authority where you can be able to guide them, help them understand this is what you have done that has meant you get to where you are. But it does not mean this is the end of you. This means you can still learn from your mistakes so that you don't do the same thing again that will land you in problems. So again, let's use the positions that God has given us to help those who we are having to deal with and are having to deal with very stressful situations.
Wow, ladies, this is as often as it is always with Aurum podcasts. Time finishes very quickly. We are discussing something and we're thinking, we can discuss it for another 30 minutes. But unfortunately, we are constricted with time. I appreciate the comments that have come. Today, we have serious comments here. And I thank God for it. Martha, Zilani, Naomi, thank you for your comments. Jackie Mora, thank you for congratulating us. Catherine Wekesa, thank you for your comments. Really, really appreciate them. Martha Thuku, thank you for giving your insight. PRC Africa, thank you for for giving us your thumbs up. You know, ladies, let me give you a story before I finish. It's good that now I'm in a HR, podcast. I remember earlier in my career, I used to be a banker, and I've told my partner here many times, I used to hate the people in HR. Back then in the 90s, it used to be called personnel department. And I used to, I mean, the people in personnel were heartless and merciless. I remember my first job I lost. I woke up one morning and I went to work. My peers were striking. We were all striking. And I was just called by my manager and I was given a letter. And I was told, clear your desk and leave. It was around noon. There was no reason. There was no nothing. I was just told, walk. Going to HR in head office, they told me, dude, here are your letters. You'll get your pension when you're 45. That time, I think I was about 26. And I was told, we don't think we have anything else for you. Hit the road, Jack. Higher. Years later, again, I had a job. Again, issues happened. Again, I was told that is the door. But that time now I was dealing with somebody who is calling himself the HR director. The same story. You know, there was no much pity. I was listening to Philisters and Zippy and saying, wow, I wish I had HRs like you ladies. Probably a soft face would have helped me, handle the stress of the trap door opening beneath your feet and you're dropping into the bottomless pit of unemployment. So, ladies, thank you for bringing this, bringing a human side to the issues that many Kenyans have been going through over the last, how many? Is it 12, 14 months since the beginning of 2020? And we will continue having these discussions. We want to appreciate all those that logged in. We want to appreciate you, Felistas. Thank you for coming in. In fact, we will, I think we should have you next week, Felistas. We continue with this discussion. We cannot stop. I mean, you can see from the comments, we have so many people who are, both professionals and people who out there, they are not HR people, but they're listening and they're thinking, yeah, this has affected me. And we would love to have you, Felistas, next week. We discuss more about this topic. We discuss more about other issues concerning the psychological handling. How do HRs and how do organizations equip the employees with the mental resilience to be able to cope with challenge? Because the way it's going, these employment challenges won't stop. They won't stop, because 2021 does not mean that things will go back to pre-2019, because even pre-2019 was not exactly a walk in the park. So, Felistas, I really appreciate your coming to be with us today. You have given us tremendous wisdom. We would love to have you here next week so that we can continue discussing more and blessing those that were with us. So for our listeners, thank you for logging in. We appreciate. This is the Aurum podcast. If you'd like to know more about us, you can check out our website. You can look for us on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, and keep the comments coming. We appreciate them, and be with us here next week, same time, same place. Ladies, final comments? Yes.
I think today was a really nice discussion, just discussing the issues that are affecting us in the workplace, the things that are affecting our mental wellness, and the things that we can do really to improve on that. So I think this is a lively discussion that we need to revisit, and thank you, Philisters, for coming on board and giving us your wisdom. So again, to our viewers, tune in next time at the same time, and we will have our guests to continue with this conversation.
Yes. Felistas, your final comments?
My final comment is to those who've lost their jobs, being a Mental Healthness Month, you have greatness within you. This is a quote by Les Brown. Remember, your mind is like your garden. What you plant there is what you reap. So ensure you fill your mind with healthy thoughts, and all will be well. You discover what is in your hand, as Moses was told. You have greatness within you. So I want to see that. I hope that next time we'll hear success stories that we have discovered our greatness and we are moving forward, and we are not wallowing that we lost our job. Thank you very much, Anthony and Zippy, for having me today. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So see you next week. God bless.